Hi, everybody. I sound awful. I'm sorry about that. I'm still sick. But on a side note, something I forgot to mention in the first video where I explained how I'm sick, I'm wearing a cardigan sweater. I feel like Mr. Rogers. I found it for $2 at the thrift store, and I was like, okay, I need this. It's hideous, by the way. It's like really ugly for no reason.
But is it comfy?
It is. It's incredibly comfortable.
Woo!
So yeah, it's cold in here, so I'm wearing a sweater. It's a very thin sweater, but
I'm in a blanket.
Yeah, I'm dressed like Mr. Rogers for some reason, so...
I'm alright with that.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
I sound more like Ned Flanders. Read about some nice diddly ice guys over here. Anyway, let's read a story.
By Reddit user, Nuclear Paradise.
Yes, I was nice guide in college.
Oh.
I've never heard it used as a descriptor like that. I'm concerned about what that means, actually.
I'm curious, but okay.
So let's go into this. There, all of us. I'm gonna have some of my honey and ginseng tea here because I'm like yeah, I know. I'm sitting over here in a cardigan and a scarf with the heater going, and I'm drinking honey and ginseng tea. I've never felt more like a hipster.
Well, and it's actually kind of, for once, winter.
Yeah, it's actually cold here, which I'm very happy about. I just wish I wasn't sick.
I'm excited to be there when I get there.
Yeah, so, here we go. Hello, everybody. I just got home. So I just got home from my second to last day of my current job, and as I was driving in the snow to get home, I remembered another story from college. This also happened around the same time as my last story. So, not a lot of detail again, but it should be a pretty decent one. This I would consider lighter than the last one, and not as eventful, though. Anyways, a bit of background. I lived in the dorms my first year in college. I lived on the 4th floor of a 10-floor building. It is a co-ed dorm connected to 2 other co-ed dorms, and a main building that had a 24/7 diner and a corner store in it.
Woo!
The 10th floor is the important part of this little story. Why? Well, that is where all the gays somehow ended up. Yes, the lesbians and a few trans guys ended up on the 10th floor for some reason that we still don't know. So my roommate was single after breaking up with her girlfriend for the second time, and was going for a trans guy on the 10th floor. She saw him one of the times that she joined me at a pride meeting. One of his friends invited me up to her dorm because she had messed up a TV stand, and I told them I'd fix it if she had a screwdriver. So I went up there after class, and the roommate invited herself, or maybe they invited her the same way they invited me, I don't remember. She was a really friendly person, though. Herself along, and there was also a floor party thing going on that I was also invited to. Well, I was fixing the TV stand, simple fix, a few loose screws, and she was trying to flirt with this guy as he sat trying to play on his new 3DS in the common room. Girls gushed about me fixing up the stand and had me look at someone else's stand or shelf or whatever. When everything got done, they said something about none of the lesbians or trans guys were handy in any way. Well, that's an ego boost. No, I didn't flirt with any of them. I just kind of blushed and told them, yeah, just give me a call or a message if anything else needs fixing. They then told me about their friend who apparently had a thing for me. I ended up fixing something else. She never talked to me at Pride and wasn't there at the small party in the common room, which, by the way, they braced their reputation by decorating it in rainbows. So I followed my new friend to the friend's room down the hall. Meet the nice guy. The nice guy in question was a lesbian, so she's a nice girl.
Oh, it's a nice girl, not a nice guy, a girl.
She was black, dressed like a mix of scene kid and skater boy, which was basically a lot of black skater clothing with hints of neon, band tees, and facial piercings. She was, like me, back then, overweight, about 20 pounds, short of obese. She had a weird smell to her as well. I don't know if that means much because my nose is actually fairly sensitive, so most new scents were weird to me.
None of the feeling.
Years of restaurant work had me shut off my nose easily, thankfully, so I just kind of shut that off and I was polite. She was loud, and her speech sounded rather slow or maybe just drowsy, like she just woke up abruptly from a long nap. I figured out later that this was due to heavy pot usage.
Oh, yay!
She was nice, however, even though my nose and sensitive ears hated her immediately. So we talked, and her friends left us in the common room. It was awkward for the most part. She talked and sounded how my aunt did when she drank and went on about things that I didn't care about, but we soon bonded over music. Thankfully, we both liked a scene band called Blood on the Dance Floor. Oh, God, I remember the mid-2000s. You damn kids. I got into them the year before all this. We both enjoy heavy rock and post-hardcore. We added each other on Facebook because this was 2011 and Facebook Messenger was now how everybody communicated. Back then, if you didn't want them to have your phone number. After the NG left, I proceeded to embarrass my roommate because I wanted to leave and my keycard didn't work. Never hang a keycard in a pocket that stores your phone. I went through 3 keycards this way. Yes, they are magnetic.
Yes, so it will destroy everything in that keycard.
Yep. Your phone has a bunch of very large speakers in it, and they tend to have magnets in them, and reverses the polarity, making them useless. I basically just clung to her until she finally got fed up and we got to leave. Unfortunately, the guy she was flirting with thought that I liked her and wanted nothing to do with her after that. I knew I probably should have told her I wanted to leave, and I did, but she told me to wait. I waited an hour, awkwardly, beside her until finally giving up. It was 11 at night. We'd been there for 4 hours, I think, and I had hit my socialization quota for a week, and I had homework to do. So I got bitched at for at least a week until she met some dude at a frat party. In that week, I talked with NG via Messenger, and she also followed and cornered me at a Pride, so I only talked to her during the week's socialization parts. Wow, that's a little creepy.
Yeah.
She also kept dropping by my room randomly. One time she didn't leave for 4 to 5 hours. It was almost 3 a.m. before we had finally kicked her out since we all had class at 10 the next morning. She also waited in the main lobby of the dorm building a few times since I told her I preferred getting food from the main building so I didn't have to get dressed properly for food, especially late at night. This pattern continued for about a month. Well, it was closer to winter break and after the incident with Rugby Girl, when it became more nice guy, she had ended up messaging me about some personal issues and being very negative. I knew all about depression and these thoughts, so I tried to comfort her, and she got worse into it. She also kept messaging me even when I was sleeping, working, or just busy in general for a few days like that. It got really grating, but I was empathetic, and I messaged back when I could. Actual winter break is when the actual nice guy stuff came in. She asked me out late one night via Messenger. I said yeah, flattered, since she had also been complimenting me for at least an hour beforehand. I enjoyed the attention. No one had ever really wanted to actually chase or date me, or told me I was pretty. I told my roommates and a few of her friends, since I was also talking to them at the same time via Messenger, since my shy ass didn't have my own friends yet. They all told me they were happy, and they were very encouraging about it. The issue was, as I thought about all this, and talked to them, I realized I just liked the attention and not really the person giving it to me. I immediately felt bad as I figured that out. I knew I'd feel terrible if I learned that someone didn't like me but just agreed because they were flattered. I messaged her and broke it off, much to everyone but mine's dismay. No one, especially Nice Girl, could understand why, even after explaining my realization. My roommate and her friends let it go after about 20 minutes of explaining, still not understanding, but not caring enough to continue all this. NG, however, had hit full rejected nice guy BS. I don't remember what she said, but the last thing was,
I think you don't want yourself to be happy. You're afraid to be happy.
So when you stop being afraid of happiness, then come talk to me.
Or something like that. It made no sense, and she also said something about me being uncomfortable with my sexuality, which I hadn't been since junior year of high school. I stopped talking to her and my roommate, and her friends told me that I did a good thing breaking it off, and that's how she handled rejection. We bitched about her for about an hour before I finally went to bed. And now I didn't block her, but she did stop cornering me at Pride, coming to the dorm, or waiting for me in the main lobby. Her friends were also avoiding me after that. I ended up unfriending her a few months later when she started basically attacking me in my comments back when Spotify was popular. It's 2012 now, and Spotify is the new big music streaming service that back in the day had to be connected to your Facebook. I think they still do that. It was free and only had one short ad every hour in the beginning, so it made sense why it was so big. So of course it posted all the music you played and when. I listened to my new favorite song at the time for a few hours in a row as I studied and did homework trying to get it out of my head. She started commenting on a post that Spotify did about a song and how many times I listened to it. Something about me needing to support the band and buy the album, stop listening to it via Spotify. She was very passionate about how streaming websites and pirating was ruining the music industry, especially for smaller bands, and you shouldn't listen to them unless you buy their merch and album. I got really annoyed and commented back on how me listening to this song on a free site isn't going to somehow ruin this band, and bands made more money on merch and concerts, which got her commenting multiple times about how wrong I am, just buy the damn album. I'm a poor college student who's trying to save the little bit of money I make from my weekend job, especially minimum wage. It's only about $6.50 at the time. Oof.
Oof.
I wasn't going to go buy an album for one song I was almost over. After going like that for an hour and not getting any studying or homework done, I finally ended it with a simple whatever and just unfriended her. From my terrible memory, this is how it happened, more or less. Maybe it wasn't as bad as most nice guys, but I would describe myself as a nice guy back in the day. So to me, this is funny when I was nice guyed when I was the nice guy. I'm sure this, dealing with depression and anxiety and a few years of maturity, kicked me out of being a nice guy and into a normal functioning adult who can flirt and date healthily. Okay, that was a heck of a story. I don't... There's
It is
definitely
nice
some,
girl, by the way.
yeah, there's a whole thing about nice girls, the obvious female version of nice guys, and yes, they do that, and yes, there is a subreddit for that if you ever want to look that up. It's very entertaining.
Hilarious.
There's not a lot of the typical nice guy stuff in this, or nice girl stuff for that matter, but
She is crazy.
oh yeah, there is the there is something. This is one of those things that sometimes I'm so glad you guys write stories like this, because it crosses over into a subsect of people that I don't get to talk about, because it's like, how do you bring this kind of stuff up in conversation, you know? No, this is not a 100% nice guy or nice girl, but it is absolutely the know-it-all music snob. Oh, the one who knows everything. The one who will tell you how streaming services are the devil, and that, you know,
Pirating music is like ruining bands, and it's like even though bands actually just make a lot of money.
A lot of the times when people like that talk about how streaming services are basically just destroying the music industry and other stuff, a lot of times it's because they don't understand how these services work. And therefore, because they're not seeing money exchanged, it must be, you know, the worst possible thing that's destroying an entire industry. Except that a lot of these services operate on the same principle of things like Twitter and Facebook. You don't pay for Twitter or Facebook. These are private industries, not run by, like, the city or the state or anything. But you're still able to access them 100% for free. So then the question is, well, how are you able to do that? They have to have oversight for all these other things. It's like, well, it's advertisement. There's a reason why Spotify and most streaming services have a thing about they have ad breaks. It's because they make more money from advertisers than they would ever make through a subscription fee.
Mm-hmm.
Because subscription fees are basically, even if you charge a set amount, even if the amount is always going to be like, fucking $15 or whatever, it's still going to fluctuate depending on how many people you actually have in it. It's the reason why, like, Hulu and Netflix only charge, like, fucking $5 is because they make the majority of their money off of advertisement.
Well, yeah, and they also make their money from whoever they're allowed to get permission from, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. It's like they'll get shows for network, and a lot of times those networks, sometimes they'll volunteer to sign a contract with them because they know that it'll get them exposure and they know that it'll get them money.
Mm-hmm.
In the entertainment business, exposure is money. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Like, that's why, like, you can watch My Little Pony on Netflix, is because Hasbro did a thing with Netflix to advertise their show, so, like, every time they have a new season, they can put that on there.
Yeah, many shows do that kind of stuff with streaming services because it garners them more money than it would to simply ignore it. Mm-hmm. Or to go with a different, just basic television. But a lot of this is basically, it sounds like the nice girl in this case really just does not understand how these services work. Now, that being said, Spotify does have a lot of problems, and they can handle a lot of things a lot better than they actually do now. But in principle, it is not a single streaming service that's going to destroy a band or kill the entire music industry. They told us the exact same thing would happen whenever Napster was around, and my God, look at that. The music industry still exists, so I guess that wasn't true.
No, and to be honest, like, if those streaming services for music didn't exist, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't get any info from independent artists.
Yeah, they help smaller artists in a lot of ways, but they also help larger ones because a lot of times that's how some people are exposed to these things.
Yeah.
And it's
the
kind
same
of a
thing
big
with
deal.
It's the same thing with the Apple Music.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to Spotify for a minute, whenever I had Spotify a while back, for example, I wouldn't know who Steam Powered Giraffe is if Spotify didn't recommend them to me. Because I didn't even know they existed, so how was I going to look them up? But because based on my taste, it was just like, oh, you like this too, and I was like, oh, that's pretty good, and that's how I found the band. And yeah, it does help smaller artists as well. It's not the greatest thing in the world, and yes, some of their advertisement and things that they're doing, business practice and all that kind of stuff, just aren't great. But to lambast every streaming service as like the most evil thing ever because you're not buying the CD, it doesn't necessarily add up to anything, because that's kind of the whole point. Like I said, with the entertainment industry, you're not working, someone is watching, because you're not earning anything out of it.
Yeah, and the only way I would ever know about Lindsey Sterling is through YouTube.
Exactly. So that's kind of a thing. But anyway.
Yep.
This is a pretty good story. Thank you for sending it in. And you guys, if you have your own story,
if you were a nice guy, I'm glad you grew out of it. But I don't think you were. I think you just had... I really think that they had they just weren't feeling up to being romantic at the time, and having friends is a good... you're better off just doing friends when you're having those kind of moments where it's like, I don't know how to do relationships yet. Because it's something that you have to build. You can't just, they compliment me, maybe I should jump into it. No, don't do that. Yeah. Just build it, because building it leads to relationships. And if you have anxiety and depression, that could be the reason why you had a hard time realizing, like, what your feelings were. Because that can, compromise it a little bit.
That's true. But,
that's advice.
All that being said,
yes.
Thank you all for watching. If you have your own story, make sure you send it to r/Moonhorse Stories. I check it every day, so I'll see it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also, there's a Patreon and a merch store, and I would be very, very happy if you donated to Patreon or bought something from the merch store. Or bought something from the merch store and donated to Patreon. Donated, whatever. I was doing a thing, and then I fucked it up because I'm not feeling so great. So, I was going to try and make like a skit, and then I went stupid because I'm not all there, but whatever. You know what I meant. Anyway, I love you guys. We'll see you in the next video.
Alright, bye.
Bye.